The Department of Homeland Security is banning states and volunteer organizations that receive federal disaster relief funds from assisting undocumented immigrants.
America, President Trump just delivered one of the most common sense policies you'd ever heard, and the left is absolutely losing their minds. The Department of Homeland Security has banned states and volunteer organizations that receive federal disaster relief funds from assisting, get this, undocumented immigrants. But here's what's gonna make you furious. We've been spending taxpayer money on luxury hotel stays, food, and transportation for people who broke the law to get here, while American citizens who lost everything in a disaster were told that there wasn't enough funding.
The new rules were first reported in a Washington Post analysis, citing interviews with federal emergency management officials.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly illustrates the backwards priority we've been dealing with for years, putting illegal immigrants ahead of American citizens, even during national disasters when our own people needed help the most. Let me break down exactly what this new policy requires, because the mainstream media is spinning this like some kind of human rights violation. Under the new Department of Homeland Security guidelines, disaster relief groups receiving federal dollars must agree that they will not operate any programs that benefits illegal immigrants or incentivizes illegal immigration.
California being investigated by the Department of Homeland Security for allegedly providing federal benefits to immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. The California Cash Assistance Program is being subpoenaed over the matter. Federal officials are accusing the program of helping migrants receive benefits even though they're not eligible for Social Security.
States and organizations are prohibited from concealing a person's legal status under the new guidelines. If states reject these conditions, they're ineligible for disaster relief money. It's that simple. Because if you want American taxpayer money, you can't use it to help people who are here illegally.
DHS will mandate that disaster relief groups receiving federal dollars cooperate with immigration authorities and enforcement. A FEMA historian tells the Post the move is unprecedented, and some volunteer groups question whether it's legal, citing concerns with asking people legal status and some states that prohibit the practice.
The Trump administration is also terminating FEMA's Shelter and Services Program, which has been providing grants for luxury hotel stays, food, and transportation for undocumented migrants. Senator Jim Risch and Senator Kevin Cramer introduced legislation to make sure these programs stay dead, calling it exactly what it is: taxpayer-funded luxury services for people who broke our immigration laws. Now let me tell you about the absolute waste of taxpayer money that Trump just put to an end. FEMA's Shelter and Services Program was literally paying for luxury hotel stays for illegal immigrants while American disaster victims were sleeping in their cars or in crowded emergency shelters. This is wild.
Now, in order to reportedly receive federal grants and awards, volunteer groups must agree to not operate any program that benefits undocumented immigrants or incentivizes illegal immigration. States and organizations are also prohibited from concealing a person's legal status under the new guidelines.
Think about how backwards this was. Hurricane victims in Florida, North Carolina, and other states were told FEMA didn't have any money to help them rebuild their lives. And somehow there was plenty of money, there was plenty of moolah to put illegal immigrants up in hotel rooms with room service and transportation. American citizens who lost everything in natural disasters were given the runaround, while people who shouldn't even be in our country got VIP treatment. This program was essentially a taxpayer-funded incentive for illegal immigration. Word gets out, if you make it to America illegally, the government will put you up in a 5-star hotel, provide all your meals, and give you transportation. Meanwhile, American citizens who followed the rules and paid their taxes their whole lives were told no money was available when they needed help the most.
If states reject these conditions, they are ineligible for disaster relief money. Nonprofits worry the new rules make even legal immigrants fearful to seek help, saying many mixed households have parents who may be undocumented, but children who are legal citizens.
Of course, the usual suspects are losing their mind over the common sense policy. They're calling it discrimination. They're claiming it'll cost lives. But let me ask you septic nose ring individuals a simple question. Why should American taxpayers be paying for disaster relief for people who broke the law to get here when we have American citizens who actually need help?
The new policy also targets DEI, and some have raised concerns it may impact Spanish-speaking volunteers who help with rescues and other programs. So far, it's unclear how this may be impacted.
Faith-based groups are complaining they don't traditionally ask individuals about their religious beliefs, political affiliation, or legal status. But here's the thing, if you're taking federal taxpayer money, you should have to follow federal guidelines. If you don't like the conditions, don't take the money. It's that simple.
The latest rule change is in line with the Trump administration's recent efforts to enhance screening for green card, visa, and citizenship applicants.
Some states like New York are whining that they offer disaster assistance to anyone regardless of legal status. Well, congratulations, New York. You can keep doing that with your own state money, but you're not going to use federal taxpayer dollars to subsidize your sanctuary policies anymore. The critics are setting up a false choice. They're acting like the only options are give disaster relief to illegal immigrants or let people die. But that's not true. Here's the real options. Illegal immigrants can go back to their home countries for help. Private charities can help them without using taxpayer money. They can apply for legal status if they qualify, and other countries and international organizations can then provide aid. Some critics are questioning the constitutionality of this policy, but let me break down the constitutional reality for you. The federal government has constitutional authority over immigration policy. Congress has the power to determine how federal money is being spent. The government can put conditions on federal funding, and states can choose not to take the federal money if they don't like the conditions. This is completely constitutional, completely appropriate. The federal government has every right to say, if you want the money, here are the conditions. States that don't like it can reject the federal funding and use their own tax money however they want. What's happening here is Trump is forcing states and organizations to choose between federal funding and their sanctuary policies. They can't have both. If they want to help illegal immigrants, they can do it with private donations or their own state money, but they're not going to use federal taxpayer dollars to do it anymore.
Everybody that I've talked to says they're getting no help.
Their trailer was donated by a volunteer, not FEMA, and they have to pay for their own porta potty.
This policy also aligns with Trump's broader effort to enhance screening for green cards, visas, and citizenship applications. We're finally getting serious about immigration enforcement and making sure taxpayer money goes to taxpayers first. You want to talk about discrimination? Let me tell you what real discrimination looks like. Discriminating against American citizens when taxpayer money goes to illegal immigrants instead of Americans who need help. Discriminating against legal immigrants when people who follow the law have to compete with people who broke the law for limited resources. Discriminating against taxpayers when people who pay taxes have their money used to help people who don't have to pay taxes and aren't supposed to be here. That's the real discrimination that's been happening for years under the previous administration. American families who lost everything in hurricanes, floods, and wildfires were told there wasn't enough FEMA money to help them rebuild, while illegal immigrants were getting luxury hotel accommodations on the taxpayer dollar.
Department of Homeland Security is now pulling funding from groups with alleged terrorist ties. This move comes after a newly released watchdog report found past funding had links to, quote, extremist organizations.
And speaking about discrimination, let's talk about how DHS is pulling funding from groups with alleged terrorist ties. The Middle East Forum found that over $25 million in DHS and FEMA grants went to terror-linked groups between 2013 and 2023. DHS already canceled 49 projects with alleged terrorist ties as a result of this. So not only were we giving taxpayer money to illegal immigrants instead of American citizens, we were also giving money to organizations with ties to terrorist groups. The level of mismanagement and backwards priority under the previous administration is absolutely staggering. Here's something these critics don't want to to talk about: international responsibility. The home countries of these illegal immigrants have a responsibility to help their own citizens during emergencies. International organizations exist specifically to help people regardless of nationality. Foreign embassies and consulates are supposed to help their citizens during emergencies. Why is it America's responsibility to provide disaster relief for citizens of another country who are here illegally? We have our own citizens who need help during disasters. We have legal immigrants who follow the rules and deserve priority access to services they paid for through their taxes.
As for what the report found, the Middle East Forum flagging a $100,000 grant in 2019 given to a mosque in Virginia, now which has been accused by Customs and Border Protection of operating as a front for Hamas operatives. Also, $250,000 to the Council on American Islamic Relations, which DHS has also accused of having Hamas ties.
The fact that we're giving grants to organizations accused of having Hamas ties while American disaster victims were told that there wasn't enough money shows you just how screwed up our priorities were. A mosque in Virginia that CBP accused of operating as a front for Hamas operatives got $100,000. The Consulate of American Islam Relations, which DHS accused of having Hamas ties, got $250,000. Meanwhile, American families who lost their home in natural disasters are sleeping in their cars because FEMA claimed they didn't have enough resources. This is the kind of backwards America last thinking that Trump is finally putting to an end. If people really care about helping illegal immigrants during disasters, here's a solution. Donate your own money to private charities. Volunteer your time with organizations that help regardless of status. Support international organizations that operate globally, and work with religious organizations that help without government funding. Nobody is stopping private compassion. We're just saying taxpayer-funded compassion should go to taxpayers first. If you want to help illegal immigrants, do it with your own money, not mine.
But the council telling Fox News Digital it has no active federal contracts with DHS and, quote, the government cannot ban American organizations from receiving federal grants based on their religious affiliation or their criticism of Israel's genocide in Gaza. The review by DHS is primarily targeting funding through FEMA's nonprofit security grant program, which provides aid to churches, synagogues, mosques, and other religious organizations as well.
DHS is now reviewing all contracts and future contracts to make sure funds are given out properly. They're implementing tougher requirements and more robust vetting processes. This is exactly what should have been happening all along, making sure taxpayer money goes to legitimate organizations that serve American interests, not terrorist-linked groups or illegal immigration facilitators. America, this FEMA policy change represents everything that's been wrong with our government's priorities for decades. We've been discriminating against our own citizens by giving their tax money to people who broke the laws to get here in the first place. We've been rewarding illegal behavior while punishing people who followed the rules. The outrage from the left proves that they care more about illegal immigration than American citizens. They're more upset about cutting off luxury hotel stays for people who shouldn't even be here than they are with American disaster victims who couldn't get help because there was supposedly not enough money. This policy sends an important message. American taxpayer money should go to Americans first, especially during disasters when resources are limited. This doesn't prevent anyone from getting help. It just means taxpayer-funded help goes to taxpayers. Private charities and international organizations can still help illegal immigrants without using taxpayer dollars. The fact that this is a controversy shows you how backwards our priorities have been. We've been so focused on not offending anybody that we forgot how to put our own citizens first. Trump is finally implementing the American First policies that American people voted for. No more luxury hotel stays for illegal immigrants while American citizens sleep in their own cars after losing everything in a natural disaster. No more grants to terrorist-linked organizations while legitimate American charities struggle for funding. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.